Hey, good to see you. Welcome to this video called count them, 3 huge life lessons from poker. There are many life lessons from poker. A lot of them involve not doing certain things at 4 a.m, possibly during playing, possibly after playing, but let's leave those to one side for right now and actually focus on something broadcastable to a PG audience. Good to see you, by the way. I hope your poker's going well. I think it's worth taking a step back sometimes and thinking about the game that we all love, about what it teaches us, but about what the core things are that can really either hold you back or move you forward in poker. So yes, these are life lessons and these are things that I've taken from poker and used in other things, but they also directly apply to being a better poker player. So let's get into it, and there are only 3 of them. A lot less points than some of these vids, so that's nice. Point number 1 is absolutely critical, and you could write a book about this, and people have. But focus on process, not results. Focused on process, not results. Now, this is a real challenge if you, like me, are a human. Are you a human? Because humans focus on outcomes. And the reason we tend to do that is the way we think is to learn by association. So let's say you eat an apple and it tastes good and it nourishes you and it doesn't kill you. Well, your brain's going to form a neural pathway saying the result of me eating that apple was positive, so I can eat more apples. Now, poker doesn't really work like that because you can make the right decision and then somebody can get lucky on the river. Or at a more deep level, we very rarely have 100%, 0% equity situations. The other player might have 15%, which feels like we should always win. But 15% of the time, it goes horribly wrong, as I know you know. And we're not trying to be binary as poker players because we can't control the outcome. We're not trying to go play only hands that we win. We're trying to make plus expected value bets. We're trying to have an edge every time we put money in the pot, but we don't know which hands it will work out for us and which hands we won't. There's a luck element, a randomness element, a variance element in the game. And that's very hard for our brains because that's not a direct association. So this is something really worth working at. If you ever hear 2 recreational poker players talk about poker, they will talk about the results. So they will say, this guy got lucky on me, he hit his queen on the river to make a straight, whatever. If you hear 2 really good pros talking about poker, they will be talking about the decisions that they made. So they'll be saying, I raised on the turn for these reasons. I thought his range of hands was pretty weak based on, his 2 calls, his range was capped, so I made a thin value bet, but I sized down because I thought that's the kind of conversation you'll hear. That was me pretending to be in that conversation. Hope you got that. That's the kind of conversation you'll hear from experienced poker players. It will all be about the process, about how they made their decisions. The biggest change you can make in poker is to really focus in on how you make your decisions and what you're thinking, not what happens when they turn the cards over. And this is translatable to life. We constantly focus on the outcome in life, on our results, on what happened at the end. However, that's almost never entirely in our control without getting too philosophical. We want to think it is. We want to be masters of our own destiny and we see the world through our own subjective eyes. But that is not always the situation. Let's say a relationship goes wrong. The other person in that relationship has at least as much influence as you do. They're another person. And then there's all the external factors that can mean it works out or it doesn't work out. If you focus on the process, the decisions that you make and why you make them, then you've got a chance of getting better results. If you don't, you have almost no chance, in my opinion, because thinking about bad beats doesn't help you have less bad beats. Don't know if you've noticed. And in fact, the better you get at poker, the more you have, because the more often you're the favourite in the hand. So focus on process, not results. That's going to be most of this video because it's such a big lesson. And it's something that I never understood before poker, really. So yeah, focus on process. Second up, remove your emotion. Remove your emotion. Become a robot, a poker playing robot. So this is a really interesting one because, again, not that easy to do if you're a human. And we all get emotional about whether we're winning or losing at poker. The key is not to be influenced by that emotion when you're either playing or when you're analysing how you did. It's fine to be emotional about poker. It's fine to be passionate, competitive, to enjoy your victories, to be a little bit annoyed about your defeats. But even enjoying victories and annoying defeats, we need to minimise because, again, they're not always in your control. But if you have emotion while you're playing and making decisions, it will rarely help you. And again, I struggled with this when I started playing because I can be a little bit emotional. I've always been quite competitive and played a lot of games and sport. And oftentimes my emotion would help me because it would get me fired up and get me competitive and at my, my kind of best, if you like. But in poker, that doesn't really help. You might have noticed this. If you get fired up at the table, well, you're just going to play hands you shouldn't. You're going to push too hard. You're going to try and get your opponents, where in a full ring game, you can't really control who you play hands against as much as you'd like. So a little bit of emotion to be competitive might be okay, but you really don't want very much because you want to be able to think clearly and analytically. And it's really important to understand that poker doesn't happen to you, right? The cards are not out to get you. The dealer's not out to get you. The online site isn't rigged against you. These things are happening over and over again, the hands that are being dealt through a random process. You have to take control of the decisions that you're making and take responsibility for what's happening when you play poker. And the easiest way to do that is detach yourself from emotion. Now, removing emotion in life, maybe that's not a huge life lesson in some situations. You want to be a passionate person. But controlling the level of emotion, it goes hand in hand with focusing on your decision making and how you do that, not the outcome, is really important to being happier, actually. Because if you can let go of the things you can't control and focus on the things that you can and have emotion about kind of doing those to the best of your ability and working hard and having passion about doing that, then directing your emotion in that way can really pay off. All right, the third big life lesson, and this is more of a life lesson and where poker fits in your life than it is a poker playing lesson, whereas the first two are more about playing, I guess, is enjoy it or don't do it. Enjoy it or don't do it. That's what she said. Enjoy it or don't do it. This I am going to be a bit philosophical about because I think it is so important in all areas of life, but especially in poker. And poker teaches us this. If you're playing poker and you're feeling down because you're losing, or feeling depressed about a downswing, or you're feeling angry because you took a bad beat, or you feel like there's injustice, then you should really question whether you should be playing in that tournament, in that session, in that week, or if this is a big problem over and over again, if you should be playing poker at all. Now, I don't want to put anyone off poker. I want new players and more players to play poker, of course. But it's not necessarily for everyone at every point in their life because there is a luck factor and you can get frustrated. My point is simply this. Poker is a game. We are honoured and privileged as humans and beings in this universe to have the time and resources to play a game, even if we're playing it for money and trying to better our lifestyle. So you have to enjoy it. This is a command. You must enjoy it or don't do it because there are other things that you could do with that time and other things you could go and enjoy. So even though this is tough sometimes, I get that, especially if things aren't going your way, make sure you're always taking a step back. Maybe put a sticky on your monitor or a reminder on your phone, or just get into the habit of thinking while you're playing, I am lucky to be doing this, even though this is not the best tournament or session of my life. This is an enjoyable, fun thing to do. And find fun in your poker. Now, this does not mean don't take it seriously. It doesn't mean don't apply yourself. But it does mean get something out of that. Get some enjoyment out of that. And if you don't have that right now in poker, either take a break or change what you're doing. If you've been playing for a while, find some new goals that energize you, some new targets, some new things to study, some new games to play in. But enjoy it or don't do it. Speaking of which, I hope you're enjoying this video. You know what to do on YouTube, by the way, to help out the channel and to help yourself know when videos are coming. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. And if you've enjoyed this, hit the like button. I would love to know, in all seriousness, I know I always ask for comments, but with this one, I'd really love to know, what are the big lessons you've taken from poker that either help your poker or help your thinking in life generally? You've got my top 3. I hope you've enjoyed them, and I hope to talk to you again in another video very, very soon.